Hey guys, welcome to day number 4 of the shoulder series. So as promised, we are going to talk a little bit about your scapula. That's your shoulder blade in the back of your shoulder. It is the other part of the shoulder joint. So if you think about the shoulder as the ball and socket joint, the ball is your humerus here. That's the head of it. That's here. The scapula kind of conforms to it like this, and they work together really well. So if we didn't have our shoulder blade, our scapula, we would literally only be able to get our arms to about 90 degrees here and here if we didn't have the shoulder blade. So the shoulder blade has a couple different important points for it. One is obviously the mobility. If we didn't have it, again, we'd be here. So it's really, really important for our ability to get up overhead. So that's kind of the purpose of why we're doing this. So we need to not neglect it. The other thing is that I think of it as an anchor for the shoulder. So it actually provides a lot of stability, and it needs to be able to move freely. So a lot of times we don't think about this, but as you're raising your arm up, your shoulder blade, it needs to actually move all the way up kind of with your shoulder to decrease or maintain a good space in the joint so we don't have any things like impingement or pinching. So unfortunately, we neglect the shoulder blade a lot. So we're gonna focus on it today. That is all that day number 4 is. And we're gonna do something really basic, and all that is just moving your shoulder blade around. We call these controlled articular rotations, and you can do these in a bunch of different positions. I'm gonna show you 2 of them today, just to kind of get started. One is just to get used to the movements and the motions, because the second one's gonna be more specific to overhead mobility. However, that is more difficult, and sometimes we just can't get the feeling of the movement. So we're gonna start here today. So I'm gonna have you just kind of standing and arms straight in front of you at about 90 degrees. From there, you want to push forward as far as you can. Now, when we do these movements, you wanna minimize the amount of compensations that you're doing. Compensations are when you try to do one movement with one joint or body part, other parts kind of come into play and take over. So a lot of times with this, we compensate with our spine. These types of movements, that's the spine moving. So you want to avoid those, do these very slowly, and pay a lot of attention. This takes a lot of mindfulness and effort. So what you put into this is what you're going to get out. If you just kind of mindfully do these circles and think that you're doing them, you're probably not going to get anything out of it. So really pay attention and go slow and controlled. That's why they're called controlled articular rotation. So from here, you're going to move forward. As you're forward, keep forward, but move up towards your ears as far as you can. Once you're up, bring them back. When they're back, bring them down. When they're down, bring them forward. And you can do the reverse motion as well. So while they're forward and down, then we're going to move them back. While they're back and down, move them up. While they're up, bring them forward, and while they're forward, bring them down. So that is one full cycle, both forwards and backwards. You can do a couple of these every single day. The more you practice, the better you're gonna be, and the faster you'll kind of get the hang of these movements. Trust me, it can get frustrating, so just hang in there. It will get better as you practice. So that's just to start. Once you get the hang of those motions, we're actually gonna progress you to the overhead motion. This is very difficult, especially if you don't have full range of motion, but you wanna work on or work with what you have. So assume the position here. I'm gonna have you go about here today, just because that's more simple. You can go up and over if you want. So start here, you're gonna go forward. While you're forward, bring them up. While they're up, bring them back. While they're back, bring them down. While they're down, bring them forward, and then we'll reverse the motion. Back. While they're back and down, bring them up. While they're up, bring them forward. While they're forward, bring them down. Now, a couple things you want to pay attention to. That was pretty difficult for me. Haven't done these in that position for a little while. It'll probably be difficult for you at first as well, but as you're going around, just really pay attention to the movement. So as I'm going forward, for example, you want to make sure you're not rounding your back. Stay upright, keep your shoulders there. As you're going down, make sure that you go down and your arms aren't lowering as you do that. That's a shoulder motion, that's not scapula. So shoulder blades down. As you go back, really focus on this one. This is the number one compensation I see all the time with my patients. That is going back. So we love to use our back for that motion, especially us females who do a lot of arching. So keep your belly nice and tight, rotate back. You want to think about your shoulder blade here wrapping around the rib cage kind of. That's the motion that you want to envision as you're doing this. So again, you can do a few rounds. I'd recommend at least 5 in each direction. More will be better, and kind of work through that. And if you have any questions, you can always ask us. So with that being said, practice those every single day as much as you can. And we are going to move in tomorrow to day number 5, and that is working on the end range position of shoulder flexion. So maybe you have full shoulder flexion, but at that end range, you just are stiff or you don't have the control or the strength. And what that is going to do is limit your ability to get overhead and have that stability. So we'll get into it more tomorrow. Stay tuned for day number 5.